disclosure. Sober disclosure. Breezy's a slut.
Timmy likes it in the butt.
Are you or someone you know looking for support in recovery? Taste Recovery is your go-to directory for sober resources. Whether you're searching for treatment centers or sober living communities, Taste Recovery connects you with the right tools and support to help you on your journey. With a user-friendly platform and a comprehensive list of resources, Taste Recovery makes finding the help you need easier than ever. Start building your path to a healthier, sober life today. Visit tasterecovery.com to find the resources that work for you. Taste Recovery, your first step to a lasting positive change. Hi everyone, I'm Breezy.
And I'm Jimmy.
And we are
Sober
Disclosure.
Don't look at us like that.
You guys are gay.
Technically, you guys are gay.
Technically, that is true.
Okay, Jimmy, I'm going to let you introduce our guest this time.
So we have on the podcast this week is Damon, my husband.
And we've mentioned Damon so many times already, so I'm so glad we finally
so
have
many
him.
times.
Oh my gosh.
Hashtag famous.
Brent the other week was like, Damon this, Damon that. I call Damon for everything.
Stupid.
Okay, so how much time sober do you have?
I have 7 years and almost, I'm going to be 8 on January 9th. So almost like 8 years.
Oh my God.
What is that,
Aren't
7
you glad
years?
you didn't say I have 8 years?
No. I just don't know. I haven't looked at my calculator in a while to see what
You
exactly it
almost
is.
have
but-
8 years.
Well, by the time this episode drops, you will have 8 years.
Amazing. God willing, me willing.
Now everybody knows we're filming in December.
Well, of course. Yeah. I mean, it's fine. Yeah, everything's fine. So, okay, so you have almost 7 years?
Almost 8.
8 years. Almost 8
I
years.
have almost 7.
Oh, right.
7 years and 11 months and
11
some
months.
days.
Yeah.
Is that right? Is there 12 months in a year?
Yeah. Don't ask us silly questions. Okay, so was this your first time getting sober?
No, it was not my first time getting sober.
How many times have you tried to get sober?
I got sober the first time 26
26 years old.
26 years old. And I did stay sober for a couple years and then I relapsed. Oh my God, that's a crazy story. Do I tell it now or later?
Tell it now. Whenever
So-
you feel something, you can say it.
So I was going out with friends and all my friends thought I had been sober. And I decided, I'll do a little bit of GHB. So I had done GHB, but I wasn't with the person that knew I had done GHB. So I was with 2 girlfriends who are still my friends to this day. And all of a sudden in the car, I start to fall out. Now they think I'm totally
You're falling
sober.
out of the car?
No, like I'm falling out like on G, like
it's a gay
passing,
term.
like
Oh.
You start getting
passing
G'd
out.
out.
They're like, your eyes were rolling in the back of your head. We
Mm.
thought you were having a seizure. They think I'm 2 years sober at this point.
It's
So,
a
oh my
day
gosh.
rape drug.
Yeah. So I like totally go out. I wake up in the hospital
Oh, shit.
with my boyfriend at the time staring at me.
What's his name?
His
Just
name is his name is Gary,
Shut the fuck up.
and
That's why I said that.
Oh, my God.
my sponsor is there, my parents are there, all my friends are there. That because we were going out for I really ruined someone's birthday party.
Oh, no.
Because everybody came to the hospital, and I woke up, and all I remember is that I'm like, I need to pee. They're like, you have what is it called, a catheter? They're like, you have a catheter, and you could pee. I said, I am not peeing laying down in this bed. Like at a certain point, I'm like, okay, I started to get my self-respect, and I'm like, I'm not peeing in this bed. I want you to take it out, and I will walk to the bathroom. But like everybody was there.
Because everyone thought you probably had something wrong with you.
Well, they thought like I
A heart attack or
overdosed.
something.
And I guess I did overdose, but I think on G sometimes you can just sleep it off, even though I think that's really dangerous and you shouldn't do that.
When you get G'd out, if you have too much, you start kind of like, like
Convulsing?
convulsing a little bit, but also it would be kind of like you are overdosing, but really you're not. You just need to like lay down
But you can throw up, so you should not.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you need to be careful.
Yeah,
you need to not do G, kids. That's basically the moral of the story.
We're all telling people how to not die doing
Yeah.
drugs.
Don't die.
So basically that happened. So
This
I
is
had
a sober podcast.
So I had to go back the next day and say that I was new. And I think, to tell you the truth, I had already relapsed. That's kind of like a pattern of mine. I will relapse and then not tell anyone that I relapse. And I'll keep going to meetings. And I did that then. So I basically, like, I relapsed. I went right back. And then I got a few more years. But I started to use again. And just didn't tell anybody. And then I just decided, okay, I'm going to be out for a while. And I was out for about 6 years. And then this time I got sober almost 8 years ago.
Wow. So this sobriety was after a 6 long
It was,
year
yeah, I was
bender.
out for about 6 years.
Damn. So
That's
the
a
big
lot.
question is, what did you do differently this time versus last time?
That's like the $1 million question. You know what? I was done. I really, that's what was different. I was done. I was willing. I knew about program. I also had like experience. Like, I knew life for me, because in those, what was it? Like, I had a few years and then I got a few more years, even though I relapsed in between. Like, during that course of, 6 years, my life got so much better.
Mm-hmm.
And then over the course of the next 6 years of being out, it wasn't like I went like off the deep end right away too. It took a while.
Mm-hmm.
And basically I really like became a functioning alcoholic. But I was so, like, people on the outside, when I finally said, oh, I'm getting sober, some of my friends were like, oh, we really didn't think you had a problem. It wasn't like the first time where everybody was like, good, we're glad you're getting sober.
Yeah.
So
Did you change your drug? Is that why?
No, I'm pills all the way. Pills and booze.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? Give me, like, I love them, mixing them.
Mhm.
Like, that's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I was miserable. I was like, literally, like, you could not get me off the sofa. I was just so miserable. I wanted to die. And so I think that is what was different. My level of willingness and I just felt like I can't, like, when I came back,
You don't have another one in you.
certain things that people would say like that, like, we don't drink or use no matter what, resonated with me. Where before, when I was younger, I was like, there is, like, if Whitney Houston comes up to me and she's like, Damon, let's do some crack, like, I'm gonna go do some crack with Whitney, like, and
He's not joking. He really
Hey,
would.
R.I.P. Think I just said that.
right, we rest in peace, like, we all know where that took her, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I was young. I needed it. Like, I feel like everybody needs to have their own journey, and I definitely needed my journey. I needed those 6 years to prove to myself that I am not like other people.
Mm-hmm.
This is real for me. I have a disease. I have the obsession of the allergy of the body and the obsession of the mind. Like, all those things suddenly, like, made sense. And I came in and I said, I knew who I wanted my sponsor to be. She's still my sponsor to this day. And I said, like, no matter what she tells me to do, I'm going to fucking do it. And I did.
I love that. Is that pretty normal that gay men ask women to be their sponsors? Because I feel like I've heard that a lot.
I think more normal than usual, because I think it's more comfortable to share gay experiences with another woman than a straight male. But I think guys feel more comfortable doing that than normal, yeah. Like, sharing with another woman, because women are more understandable. I feel like they don't have like a defense against gay people, where maybe they don't. It's just in our minds we think straight guys do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, I chose women or another gay guy because it's more comfortable.
But you have a straight guy now.
But now I have a straight sponsor because that didn't work,
Yeah.
and I would like run all the women and all the men. I would just smile and be like, "Oh, it's okay, Jimmy." And the straight guy is like, "You're a fucking selfish prick," and that's what I needed.
Yeah.
The straight guy.
I asked my sponsor to sponsor me this time because I knew she worked an amazing program. She actually was my sponsee's sister.
Oh.
And I was going to ask my sponsor that had sponsored me before, but I thought, you know what? Like, I'll always have him in my life. He was a great friend of mine. And he actually...
Damon turned her straight.
Yeah.
She was a lesbian at the time. I knew we were friends. I trusted her. I knew the program that she worked, but I also knew that I like having a friend as a sponsor, but I know that that can be tricky because they will not call you. She has no fucking problem telling me exactly what time it is. She calls me on my bullshit. Like, I knew she would do that for me, and she did. And
now she's married with kids.
How did she turn her straight?
It was a trick.
She was
Ever
a
since
lesbian,
Damon
and now,
asked her to sponsor.
and now she became straight. Ever since I asked her to, that's not
No.
true. It still took a few years.
That's cute. I like
He's
that.
stupid.
Okay, so that was your experience with sponsorship. When was the first time you went to an AA meeting? Can you recall that?
The first time I ever went to an AA meeting?
Yeah.
What
did you think?
Well, the first time that I actually can remember, I remember my dad being in treatment in a hospital.
Ooh.
And as a family, we went to the hospital to go to some family.
Oh, the family support group.
Yes, and then my brother also had issues, so I remember going for him. And then probably my first meeting, I need to go to a meeting, I would say was probably early 20s. And I did go to rehab for 30 days in my early 20s, but it was like a break. The day I got out, I started to use again. It was nothing registered. I was like, I am not ready for this.
Mm-hmm.
I am not done yet. So I don't really count that. The first time that I'm like, okay, I have a problem was around 26.
But okay, so when you were a kid, you went to the meeting?
No, I
With your
remember
dad?
going with my dad young, I don't know, maybe 10, 11, 12. I remember going to, I don't know if it was an AA meeting, but it was
Something like that.
it was my introduction. So
and obviously you hadn't started, the disease hadn't gotten bad yet if you even had started yet. But
yeah,
that for me was my first time going to a meeting. Was my dad's in a 12-step program, and then also my brother. And so the first times I had ever gone to a meeting, it was not for myself. But I always remember hearing the stories and relating to how people felt versus all the war stories that they did. And so I think it's really cool that most of the episodes we filmed already, it's all been about emotion and people drink and use over the way that they're feeling.
Yeah.
And the shit that we go through.
The trauma.
Yeah. And not being ready yet to do the work because they haven't, like you just said, I'm just not done yet.
Yeah.
And
no,
you have to get to that point.
At that point I knew I was when I went with my dad and my brother, I was not even I hadn't even used or drank or anything. I was young.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I finally went my first time, early 20s, with a family friend, actually a girlfriend, I knew I needed it, but I just knew I wasn't done.
Mm-hmm.
That first time I went to treatment, I knew. I'm I'm not ready for this. I need to dry out. I need to detox off these pills. But no part of me wanted to quit.
Yeah.
Can we also talk about how I told Damon we're doing this podcast, and he said you will fail. And he said he does not want to be on it. And he said, I don't know why you and Breezy are starting something like this because it's not gonna it's not gonna be successful.
I'm not even gonna give that a response because it's not true.
Okay, then how did it go down? Please tell us.
Let's save that for another episode.
No, I think it was I'll give it a year.
I said I'm gonna let you have a year to do this.
And if it's not successful, then it's done.
You're a really busy person and you spread yourself really thin already. So I thought to add one more thing onto that was maybe not the best idea. But I am supportive and I am here. And
And you do spread yourself thin too.
Yeah.
You actually spread yourself wide.
Your nephews might watch this.
Babe, this is a rated R podcast. They cannot watch it unless they ask their parents.
I
And
actually had to do that. I had to put that there was explicit
and
content.
if they watch it, that's not my fault.
Okay. Well, you might not be. Well, we're not going to even say anything about that. You may not be able to be president now.
You?
President, me?
Yeah, of the United States.
But I'm not going to be president of the United States. Okay, so we want to know about your first year in sobriety. Either it be this year or any other year that when you remember you're newly sober, and maybe more this year. Like, tell us about your first year of sobriety. You told us that you did everything you were, your
You're
sponsor
boring.
told you to do. You're boring, but I know you're not.
Okay, so my first year this time was, okay, so I had started to take Suboxone.
Oh.
In your first year?
No, I started before. So before I got sober, I literally was like taking pills like 3 or 4 days a week. And then on my days, I wouldn't, because I was up to 30 Norcos a day. And so on the days, yeah, exactly, fucking disgusting. So on the days that I wouldn't take them, I would take a Suboxone. And it would just make me feel normal. I never got high from it. So I had weaned myself down to like, I would take one Suboxone pill and break it up into like 8 pieces. But when I got sober, I was still taking that like 1/8 of a piece. And I, doctor, and I told my sponsor, like, I'm on this stuff. And, I'm like, I'm afraid to stop because I'm going to go through withdrawals when I stop taking this.
And it's worse than heroin.
Yeah.
So you were sober in sobriety.
I was in sobriety,
your sponsor.
but I was still taking that 1/8 for a few months.
Okay.
And first of all, I got sober this time. What I was 45 minus 8 is what? I was 37, 30, 36, 37. And what I noticed this time getting sober is I did not bounce back like I used to. Like physically, mentally, I wasn't that old, but my body just did not bounce back. So it took me, I wanted to be on antidepressants, and I kept begging my sponsor and my therapist, I'm like, please let me go on antidepressants, which I don't think there's a problem with if you do those. But they were like, Damon, you do not need that.
Yeah.
And after about like 9 months, I finally start to feel like a normal person again. But it took me longer this time than it had any other time to feel normal. And one of the things was I got off the Suboxone earlier, but like the minute I got off of that, I started to feel better. I did not think that an 1/8 was doing that much for me, but the minute I took that out and was then like completely clean system, I started to feel 100% better.
Like a spiritual connection.
Not even that, like just like, because I don't even, that's a whole nother topic. I think, yes, I started to like it just was making me like not give 100%. And I don't know about not 100% to the program, but it's like I didn't even realize how much that
film over your
that 1/8 was giving me that film. And it wasn't a high. I was not feeling a fucking thing from it. And you know what? I felt uncomfortable for about a day.
Yeah.
And I wish I had the balls to do it earlier, because really, like, at that point, what is an 1/8 of this Suboxone pill? But I was like, I thought I needed it. I thought it was making me be able to function every day, because going through those withdrawals from the pills and all of that BS it's awful. It's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so then in sobriety, your first year.
In sobriety, my first year,
No, I want to know this.
Okay.
Did you do anything in your sobriety your first year where you wanted to do something everyone told you not to, but you did it anyway?
Well, no, because I was already in a relationship when I first got sober. And I feel like that is like the main thing we tell people not to do.
But you were already in one.
I was already in one that I had been in for a while. And I was a good boy. I did what I was told. And my dad was also dying. That was sad. That was hard that first year. So I can't think of anything big that I did in that first year. I mean, since then, yes, I have done stuff that, wasn't recommended to me, but...
What was it?
Getting into a relationship with you. No.
Was that, I'm going to be honest, was that not recommended to you?
No, it wasn't, but I probably could have handled it better. I didn't like the relationship that I had been in previously was not the most healthy relationship. And as you know, you and I overlapped a little bit, from that relationship. And the minute I broke up with the ex, I jumped into a relationship with you.
Yes. And that was not recommended.
Which I shouldn't have done, and that gave us our problems in the first year of us dating. But
what did we do? We went into. I asked my sponsor. What happened was they said give time for Damon, give him some time. I did, and kind of like allow him a few, whatever he needs. And what was it? A week or two? I was gonna give you a month.
I broke up with Jimmy so many times that first year because I was a fucking mess. I was at 2 years sobriety,
and I had a year
and
3 months, maybe.
And I was a mess. Like that relationship that I didn't realize how much that relationship that I was in before fucked me up. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a blessing that Jimmy was there because I don't think I would have been able to leave that relationship had Jimmy not been there.
That was a spiritual experience.
but then it also made it harder for Jimmy and I to get to a healthy place. Mm. But what had happened was pandemic happened. And we started to go, we were doing the Zoom meetings and we fucking hated them. We tried everything. We were laying in the bed. We were falling asleep during the meeting. We'd go sit on the sofa. We'd get in the car and drive. Jimmy would drive and I'd hold the phone and we'd be listening to the meeting and we hated it. So one day Jimmy called a girlfriend when I wasn't with him, and he said, "What are you doing tonight?" She's like, "I'm going to a meeting." He's like, "What do you mean you're going to a meeting? Like, how are you going to a meeting?" And she was like, "Oh, I go to, who's Paul knew of the meeting, her boyfriend, Paul at the time, not at the time, they're still together. He knew of the meeting, and it's basically Jimmy went to his now sponsor's house for a meeting, and it was like a little pod, and they were having meetings like 3 or 4 times a week outside by the campfire. And so Jimmy went that first night, and then the next night he's like, they told me I need to bring you. And we went, and basically we did that like that first year of pandemic for months, like 3 or 4 times a week, and it was all these other couples. So it was like the most intensive, like program-based couples counseling ever.
Wow.
And had we not done that, we would not have survived.
And the meeting turned into that. It wasn't that.
It wasn't like that.
It happened to be like
it
all
just
couples.
so happened to be that it was all these other couples. And there was a few single people too, but it would turn into that. And I'd go and be like, Jimmy did this yesterday, or Jimmy, and we'd and everybody would join in, crosstalk. It's amazing.
Then I went in and said, I went to call Damon. He didn't answer. And so then I had a gut feeling. So I went to his sister's house, went to go see if he was home, and he wasn't home, and he left his phone there.
What does that mean?
I left my phone there because
we're tracking each other.
Because Jimmy had my location. And
then I went to his ex's house to see if he was there, and I saw him with someone else. This person, I know his ex's height, but this person was smaller, and I'm like, oh, he's probably with a little Mexican dude, so it's not Damon. So then I'm like, okay, I'm good. So then I went back, and then I called Damon. He finally answered. He goes, oh, I went to get Wiener Schnitzel with a friend. I still don't believe him, but...
We're going to let you think that person in the room was smaller. And Mexican.
Oh my God.
For the sake of the podcast.
Whoa.
Maybe Damon was standing far back. I don't know.
You really think it was Damon?
No,
I just had the craziest thing that just happened to me while you guys were saying that.
What?
My ex, who I forget what we called him.
Gary. Oh.
No.
Cut that out.
The
hot one?
G.
Yeah. So G, which obviously you both know him, when we were going through our shit during the pandemic, someone told us that there was a couples fucking meeting going on where you guys all would give each other feedback. And I just realized it was probably your guys' meeting.
Yeah.
And I was probably always supposed to know you guys.
Always
That's
supposed to know us.
crazy.
You've been to that meeting, the new iteration of it, and I
Yeah.
don't think you loved it.
No. No, I
Which you
didn't.
seemed to love it at the time, so that I still don't understand. We'll need to talk about that off the podcast.
crying.
No, or on it.
I was crying the whole time.
But
What do you
I
mean?
feel like you were crying the whole time, but I feel like it was because you were letting out so much shit you needed to let out.
That's true.
I didn't feel like it was like a bad experience for you at the time. Maybe you look back on it, but I thought it was helping. That's the way you made it seem to me afterwards. But you know what? It's not for everybody.
Yeah. It's not that it didn't help me. I definitely needed to hear the things that you guys all were saying.
But
for
my
sure.
therapist said, I'm just kidding.
I think when you don't know the person that is kind of facilitating the meeting and know that he is really coming from a good place and he actually really cares about people, his approach is harsh.
Yeah.
And he tells you, I mean, I told Jimmy, I'm like, you should ask him to sponsor you when we first started going to that meeting.
I was like,
I'm
absolutely not.
Because that's
Yeah.
the way my sponsor does not give a fuck what I think about what she is saying to me. If she needs to say it to me, she will say it to me.
Yeah.
And I said to Jimmy, I said, that's what you need. Because you get these gay guy sponsors that fucking fall in love with you. And yeah, you need a straight guy.
Who just says, like, don't
They get
fucking do
enamored
it.
with your cute little face and your big biceps. And
Yeah.
they can't tell you shit.
See, for me, I personally feel like, and I was saying this on a different episode, I can go and I can ask people, now that I have X amount of time, I can go and I can ask people what I should do, but the program literally tells us that we intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. And so for me, it felt like he was like trying to dictate everyone's life in the room. And I'm like, that takes away my spiritual experience with my higher power. And I want to be able to go within and be like, okay, what is best for me? And I need to learn how to connect without someone else forcing their opinion down on me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I truly believe that I was supposed to go through the fucking gnarliest relationship of my life. It was. Because it forced me into the darkest place in sobriety, to where then I started hitting my knees and praying every single night. And I had the craziest spiritual experience of my entire life. Like, it was insane. And it's only gotten deeper. And without that relationship, I never would have found that. Like, if I had just been like, oh, everyone's telling me not to date him, okay, I'm going to continue just being like this half version of myself, you know? Like, I was a shell before that relationship, and I was a shell after it, but I had found God in a totally new way that I'm just like, holy crap. Like, I know that I can go to God and I can pray and I can literally get my answer, like, pretty damn quickly now.
I think you
know?
already had a really good foundation, though, too, in the
Yeah.
program, which helped you with that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't. And, you know, I think what happened with you was rare. That you found that through that. Because a lot of people, I think, what they're interpreting as what is God's will is really their will. I think that's a really hard lesson to learn.
Fine line.
And I think, you know, talking about, oh, I'm so spiritual. Oh, I have this great connection in my first year. I think people are full of shit because I'll hear them say
Hell
that
no.
and then talk about how they're not listening to a word of what their sponsor is telling them to do. And I'm like, honey, God is not coming to you through a burning bush. God is speaking to you through that sponsor.
Yeah.
And through the people who are telling you what to do. So you're telling me how spiritually fit you are, and you're all in self-will. So
Yeah.
you know, no, I 100% agree with you. I think that we do need to go through our trials and tribulations. I think sometimes there's just people there to help us get through it faster. But you had your own path, you know, and you had to.
And also that you're human, and it's just with the sponsor telling you what to do. People are going to tell you what to do, but it's really, you're going to do what you want. So what you want is that, and that's what was meant to happen.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah. And actually, no one even told me not to date him. That's the craziest thing.
And you know what? Then you need to figure out who the fuck you're surrounding yourself with then.
Amen. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
That was before I really got into the program.
Yeah.
So, makes sense. But anyways, this episode
This is
is
about
not
Damon.
about me.
You know what? This is what he does.
No,
he
I'm good.
deflects, and now the episode's about Breezy.
I'm not good. I'm not deflecting. I like to talk about relationships. Like,
Yeah.
at 2 years of sobriety, life was going great. Jimmy came into my life. We were friends for a year. Like friends. Like girlfriends. Like
sisters.
Like I never in a million years thought that us catching feelings for each other would have happened. But it happened. It blew up my life. Jimmy snapped me out of the fucking spell I was under.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, why is this successful, young, totally handsome, gorgeous guy telling me he has feelings for me? Like I was in a bad relationship where I was lied to, cheated on, and I felt like shit. And I didn't even realize it at the time. But then I thought, why is this guy interested in me?
Then how did you stay sober through that? Being in that relationship, knowing everything that was happening in that relationship, and then me coming in and doing all that.
Well, it blew up my life.
And how'd you stay sober?
You blew up my life. I started to realize I deserve better than this relationship that I'm in. I gave it about another month, and then I broke up with him. And you and I did overlap for a few weeks.
And then he sent me pictures, naked pictures of them.
You're so stupid.
And I called my sponsor and I said, this is what's happening.
You want to know how I stayed sober through it all? Let's get back on track.
And then my sponsor said, leave it alone. Don't say nothing. So I didn't, and I blocked it.
So
that's how I stayed sober.
I stayed sober because we do not drink or use no matter what.
That's true.
And you know what? I am not when shit hits the fan, my first thought is to not go and use it historically. Historically, when everything's great is when I want to go fuck it all up.
That's real.
But the main thing is I was sober, but I was in an emotional fucking relapse that lasted a year. Ooh. And I felt every day like someone was standing on my chest and I couldn't breathe.
That was before Jimmy? The year before?
No, that was all during this. Like after I broke, like it was 2 years, my life blew up. I decided I can't be in this relationship anymore. I have this other guy who really wants to be in one who I love. And
my year was up.
And I didn't know.
I waited the year.
Jimmy did wait a year. He was a good boy. His year was up. And I like every move that I made was the wrong move. My sponsor was like, don't fucking do anything. Like call me before you leave your bedroom in the morning. Like don't call me before you pee. Like every decision I was making was fucked up. And we started, what basically saved it though was that we started to go to that meeting. And I went to the guy, you know, on the side, not during the meetings. And I said, I'm in therapy. I'm going to fucking astrologist. I'm going to fucking, you know, like psychics. Like I don't want to feel this pain anymore that I'm feeling. And he gave me assignments to do. And I literally would come back the next day with the assignment done, you know, because I wanted the relief. Like I didn't want to feel the way I felt at that time. And so I would do anything. Like, what do I need to do? Like, do I need to go run around the block 12 times? Okay, I'll do it. and I did. I did work. I did work on myself.
So from an outsider's perspective, I think people would want to know, how did you get to the place of feeling that sick in sobriety? Was it Jimmy?
To tell you the truth, I don't even know. I was in that relationship when I got sober. And as I got sober, the behavior from my ex and even my own behavior, this is not all on him. As I was getting more and more sober, working the steps, doing work on myself, it was like, this is not okay. You know, I started to like, you know, come back to life from being
kind of grew
a fucking zombie.
You were thawing.
Yes, thawing, growing, whatever you want to call it. I started to do work on myself and I'm like, okay, this is not. And then there was something about Jimmy that kind of snapped me out of like, what are you doing with your life? Like I had this moment of clarity at 2 years, you know, over 2 years sober. And I was like, what are you doing? Like how have you let your self-esteem and how you think of yourself get this bad? And you know, I had to dig myself out of that hole. It's like peeling the layers of the onion. Like first getting sober was just peeling the, you know, the little layers. And then I went deeper and deeper. And it just was like at that moment in my life, it just all kind of culminated and, you know, was like, boom, I blew up my life. Everything changed.
Wow.
Everything changed. And, you know, I'm grateful.
But you were still going to meetings.
Oh, no, I was still going to meetings. I was doing everything. And that was probably in August that I blew up my life. And pandemic didn't happen until, what was it, February, March?
Mm-hmm.
But I was fucking up those months. I mean, like I said, like drinking and using was not an option. I had taken that off the table. I took that off the table when I got sober this time.
You did more emotional relapses.
But I was in a full-fledged, batshit crazy emotional relapse, which, you know what?
It's worse.
It's worse. It is so much worse. And
he was getting hand jobs at massage parlors.
You are so dumb. Yeah, I told him that as a friend. That wasn't even in our relationship.
It wasn't, no.
But I kept breaking up with Jimmy and going back to the dysfunction. That's what I was used to.
Yeah.
When Jimmy and I, this is my favorite story to tell. When Jimmy and I first got together, no one had ever treated me like he did. He treated me so nicely. He was so sweet. Everything was so good. And we would be laying in the bed watching TV, and I would be so uncomfortable.
He would stare out the
I
window.
would be crawling out of my skin because I'm like, oh, this guy isn't making me cry every other day, and it's not a roller coaster ride, and it's so nice and peaceful. You know, it's boring, for lack of a better word, because it's just like the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
but I didn't know that. I would get up and have to get out of the room. I'd be like, I gotta go, I gotta leave. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was so used to being in the toxic, you know, that becomes addictive.
No, absolutely.
It
You
does. Finding
Absolutely.
hotel receipts in your car and all this other stuff.
What?
Who did that?
Remember you found a lot of hotel receipts? Or hotel...
I found one hotel thing.
Oh.
Yeah. With the ex.
And he told us as friends, and you know what I thought? I was like, if I was with Damon, I would never do that.
Aww.
That's what I thought.
So sweet.
Very sweet.
So, in your first year, you were already in a really abusive, toxic relationship. So, you know,
So you didn't do everything right.
You weren't necessarily. You weren't necessarily searching. Like, you wouldn't have had to have sought out chaos because you were already in it. But do you feel like you were seeking chaos from other areas? Like in friendships? Like, I know my friend group was insane, and we were getting into crazy fights every other week and drama up the yoo-ha. Woo-ha?
Well,
I don't think so. What do you remember?
Our mutual friend that we're not friends with anymore.
Oh,
That was chaotic.
yeah, but he wasn't even around my first year.
Oh, he wasn't.
He's the reason actually I got sober. I thought, well, if this bitch and I aren't going to talk anymore, I might as well get sober. And that's the day I went to a meeting again.
Whoa.
Because he was my best friend at the time, and we were using together all the time. So I'm like, if this person, because I knew I needed to get sober. I mean, that was so I got sober January 9th. In mid-December, my ex and I had a party, and I woke up sitting on the toilet with him sitting across from me with the door open. There was like a sofa like across from like where the bathroom was, and you could, like, if the door was open, you could see the person who was sitting on the toilet. And I had gotten up in the middle of the night and I had passed out on the toilet, and he was sitting on the sofa just staring at me. He thought like I was dying, like I was just passed out on the toilet. But he actually, you know, I'm grateful for this part of it. He actually started to cry, and it really freaked him out. And I was like, I know what to do. I know how to fix this. And I did go to a meeting, but then I'm like, we got Christmas coming up and New Year's. I might as well stay fucked up for a while. Mm-hmm. And then when the ex-friend and I had a fight, I was like, okay, if we're not speaking, I can get sober, and I got sober that day.
Well, I know now people want to know why he's our ex-friend. He's our ex-friend because he's upset that we are together.
We actually don't know the whole reason. It's very strange, but yeah, he never really accepted mine and Jimmy's relationship, and he was really You know what? There was a time when he was a good friend, but towards the end, he was a really shitty friend to me, and he was really mean to Jimmy. So you know what? We nixed that.
Was he in love with one of you?
That's what everybody says,
I
and
think so.
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know why he wouldn't have told me through the course of us all being friends that he was in love with you, but he never did. And we
The
used
guy
to.
he's dating now kind of looks like me.
Really?
Babe, I don't think so.
I'm just saying that to be funny.
Oh.
Not
You're a
at
little
all.
shit stirrer.
Yeah, I wanted him to laugh.
And maybe he was. That's what everybody thinks, but I don't think that's it.
You don't think he was in love
I
with
think he
you?
was jealous. No, I don't think he was in love with me at all. I think he was jealous. I think that he was just jealous.
Jealousy is a hell of
And
a
it took
drug.
him out because
He started
He was
dancing?
already out.
what happened was, as our friendship was growing, he was friends with me. He would have weird behaviors, but come to find out, he was taking pills here and there.
Mm.
So then I think all of that built up to that too.
But that whole time in my sobriety was the time that I was making the worst decisions. Like I was just doing everything wrong.
But you stayed sober through it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I took that
Because
off the table.
You don't drink or use no matter what.
No, and I don't hear that enough at meetings anymore.
Mm-hmm. That's very true.
Yeah.
That's very true. That was
And
an
I know,
all-timer
trust me, I
thing.
know it's
It's-
easier
yeah.
said than done, but it's like, no, like that was not an option. Like I am 100% in this deal now. You know, that is no longer, and I know that it's no longer an option for me. I cannot do it. And I don't think I have another recovery in me. I used to hear people say that, and I'm like, what do you mean? You can't get sober another time? Like, I don't know. I don't know if I'd make it back.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. And you said that your dad was passing away in your first year as well?
My dad did. I'm really grateful that I got sober when I did, because when my dad finally, he had dementia. And he was already bad, but I got sober and I got to go see him. I used to never want to visit him because it was just so depressing. He was in a facility at that time, and my sister would actually, thank God for her, she'd call me and be like, "Come on, Damon, we're going." And I'd go, and when he was dead, I got to go say goodbye to him sober, and you know, right before he passed. And yeah, so I'm grateful that I don't know if that was in my first year or I had just a little over a year when he passed. I think
It was your first year.
It was my first year.
Yeah. Because I had just met you and you were doing all that and he just had passed.
I thought you knew me when he passed. Oh, maybe that was grandma.
No, it was grandma sober.
Okay. So yeah.
That was your first year?
Yeah.
And you stayed sober. How did you kind of handle that?
Yeah.
Like, do you call your sponsor? You stuck around with people?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, you get your community here. You get you get a sponsor. You get, you make friends. You you do all
stay
those
close.
things so that you have people that you can lean on. And I'm fortunate to have a lot of, my friends who aren't in program, who are a great support system. And I, my family's batshit crazy, but I love them and they're good people.
Yeah.
I mean, I had my family to lean back on. And you know what? My ex at the time, not everything was bad. That's why we stay in those toxic relationships, because it's not all bad.
Mm-hmm.
The bad just eventually with mine started to outweigh the good. But
Yeah.
he was, he was supportive and he helped me through that as well.
No, he wasn't.
I just had to start feeling good enough about myself to realize, look, you shouldn't have to weigh the good and the bad. It should not be that
Yeah.
much bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is a journey of self-love.
Yeah.
And I think that's what sobriety is all about. It's
Yeah.
literally just falling in love with yourself,
yourself
and
again.
seeing how much you deserve. And like eventually your life just, or at least it should, start going this way, unless you're not
and-
really working on the inside.
Yeah, and I feel like when we get so much time sober and we start doing things that we kind of aren't aligned with loving ourselves, that's when we need to look back, or I need to look back and say, why am I doing this?
Mhm.
Take a step back and like, why am I cheating, or why am I doing all these things? What am I doing wrong in my sobriety that I have to do fill the hole again?
Why did you say that? Did you cheat on Damon?
No, I never cheated on Damon.
Oh.
I just said that from like other people.
No, I think it's easy to get caught up in that shit and any of it. Shopping, food.
Yeah, everything.
I think
you're filling a hole again.
And I think this disease is so,
it's insidious.
It's insidious, and it will creep up all the way from left fucking field, something you don't even think. And it will come in the back, it will weasel its way in there. And, pretty soon you're gambling or you're shopping too much or, and something has gotten out of control. And you're like, how did it get like this?
That is true. And I want to talk about something else because you do things when you're sober too. But it's like with the whole cheating thing, like with me, I literally had booked, this happened in sobriety. I booked him a facial. I booked a facial with this guy that I thought was really hot. And I thought he was really hot, and it looked like he gave facials like with his shirt off or something. And so then I booked the facial because I actually did need a facial, but I'm like, I'm going to go with this guy, and maybe he'll rub his nipple on my face or something. But what had happened is I went, and Damon asked me the night before, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? Because it was my day off. And I go, nothing. I'm going to just do this and that and get a facial. And he thought that was so weird. And then I said, get a facial with a girl.
Oh, I don't know if it's a girl or a guy. He just fucking started to dig his own grave. I didn't have to say shit.
And he goes,
all I said was, babe, what's going on tomorrow? We do. We tell each other about our day for what's going on. And it was felt so guilty.
Obvious.
And I'm like, okay, something is not awry here. Something is a little off.
It's a little off.
And then he did a little gaslighting. And then he finally, admitted.
And then I said, you know what? And then I said, oh, my client booked it for me. I don't know. Remember that?
It was just all these stupid lies. And I'm like, babe, I don't care. I trust you. I trust Jimmy. Go get your facial from the guy with the shirt off. But
then I had to think of my intention. And we talked about it. And this is good communication is you're going to think stuff, but it's like the action. You know what I mean? My intention was getting a facial from a hot guy. Maybe his nipple might rub on my face. It's not like I'm going to go to this guy because he does a great facial. His technique is good. It wasn't that. It was more sexual. Mm-hmm. So when he had told me that and about my date, I didn't really think about it. I'm not like, I'm going to go cheat on Damon. But I thought of the intention was not right. And so that's why I started getting I couldn't lie. Yeah, I couldn't lie. And so then we had to laugh about it after because it was that's not right.
We talked about it at the meeting in front of everybody.
He brought it up, and my sponsor was like, you fucking slut. This is what you like to do, just slut it up all the time and, all this stuff. And I'm like, you're right.
Yeah.
He was right.
Yeah. Character defects. I love it.
I know. That happened in our third year in. I'm sober. Shit's going to happen, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you feel like is what's the biggest difference between your sobriety now and your sobriety in your first year?
Oh my God, everything. That first year is a shit show. It's it's really funny because some days they'll ask, people less than 30 days, and I'm like, I want to say my name. even though I know I haven't relapsed, I'm like, I feel like it today.
Yeah,
every once in a while, there's a day when I'm like, just fucking raw as can be. But you know what the difference is I do think I live in God's will today. I know what that means to a certain extent. I still think that is something that I need to explore more. Mm-hmm. But I understand that, and things don't bother me as much. Mm. My days are more like this. Yeah. I'm not like this. Yeah.
Not up and down.
Yeah. I can get to a place, trust me, I still go off on the phone with some bitch, who's on customer service. I will still do that and have to make amends, halfway through the call. But I don't, those are fewer and further between, and I don't stay in this shit as long as I used to. Yeah. I can get myself out of it pretty quickly. But there's still work to do.
There's always work.
Still more peeling of the onion.
What is one piece of advice, Breezy, help me,
that you were told in your first year that has stuck with you? We'll finish each other's sentences.
Yes.
Your work wife. What is one piece of advice that someone told me in my first year that has stuck with me?
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, put me on the spot. I don't know. Something that someone told me. Why are you guys so focused on the first year? That was too long ago. I don't remember everything.
He did say, I don't fucking remember.
I don't remember. Who remembers
who
their
fucking
first year?
remembers their first year? That's what you said.
Thank God it's over.
Amen.
Okay, I do want to say something about the first year, though. I remember the first time I got sober, like at 26.
Mm-hmm.
And that first year, oh my God, that was like the best year of my life.
Really?
I like loved going to sober living
Oh.
and smiling again and being happy
Me
again.
too.
This
Same.
time I was older. I had more responsibilities. It was not the same as when I was like 26 and like my biggest fear was like, oh my God, am I going to get my car back? Are my parents going to let me have my car back? Like, fucking idiot. But like I look back on that like college. Like like I loved that first year.
That's such a good point, though.
That
Yeah.
first year when
That
I was
is, like-
younger, this one older, it just wasn't the
It
same.
was
Like
fun.
I like went right back to work. Like I got sober and I was in work the next day. I didn't go to treatment. I just started going to
I like,
meetings.
yeah, you like had sex with every guy in the rehab and like,
I didn't. You did, babe, not me.
that wasn't everybody?
I was detoxing off pills, so that wouldn't have been cute.
But you were backed up, so then you wouldn't have
Yes.
poop.
Yeah, I wouldn't. There wouldn't have been that mess.
Oh my God.
Okay, so then what is one piece of advice you can give someone
One piece of
for their
advice
first year?
for your first year:
Ooh.
get a year. Like stick with this. Give this a shot.
Short and sweet. You're good at that.
Do this 100%.
Yeah.
Do this like you
Like your life.
do
depends
this
on it.
like your life depends on. Do this like you need that next hit. Like you will drive fucking 3 hours to
To
go to the
Southgate.
dealer to get your fix. Like do this 100%. Give it 100% of you for at least a year, and I promise you, your life will change in ways you cannot even imagine.
I love that.
But I didn't learn that till recently.
Yeah.
You got to be all in.
You gotta be all in.
I didn't know that I was all in, but looking back, I was, and thank God I was. But you know, if you're not going to give this 100%, it's not going to work.
Well, thank you,
Wait,
Damon,
what do you
so
mean?
much.
Sorry, I'm so
Oh, wait.
sorry. I'm so sorry. What
Yeah,
do
I'm
you
not
mean?
ready for it to be done.
Yeah, you said that. You also went to the bathroom. Don't forget.
I restarted the timer.
Oh.
Bitch, don't come for me. I'm ready.
So, what do you mean though that I forgot my question.
You wanted to know what do I mean about if you're not 100% in this?
Oh
it's-
no, that you said you didn't realize that you weren't in 100%.
Oh no,
that you
I
were.
didn't realize that that's what was happening when I got sober this time. That I was in 100%. That I literally. I think that there's like things that are good and things that are bad when you've already had some program and you come back.
Mhm.
I knew my life was going to get better if I came here.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was like literally like, tell me what to do.
Mhm.
I was like willing, and I did it. You know, and like so that was me. That was me putting 100% in. I didn't like have the words at that time to say that, and no one told me that at that time. But now someone that I, work with does say that a lot to
Mhm.
newcomers, and I think it's true. Like you've got to give this 100%.
Mhm. Mhm. I love that. That makes sense. I agree, and we do.
We do, yeah.
All three of us. We work really good programs.
We do. We do 100%.
And it shows in the fact that we are happy and thriving and free, most importantly.
Yeah,
And
and it's a journey. It's not always 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And there's days that we're gonna shop too much, and there's days that we're gonna have emotional relapses.
And
I mean, it's like
And there's times that you're not going to do your commitment for treasure for 4 weeks.
Who did that?
Me, I'm doing it right
Jimmy.
now, but I've been so busy. But thank you for everyone who's covering my commitment.
Okay, I know that we're going over a little bit, but I
It's
just have
okay.
another question
Do
because
it.
I love the fact that both of you guys are in recovery and you're together and you're married.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, like,
Because it was about his first year. Maybe we can have another podcast of that.
but
Ask us.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like, because we had somebody else on and we were talking about dating in the rooms, and like, you guys were friends. You guys were probably going to similar meetings together, right? Or no? Have you guys ever gone to the same meetings?
No.
That's how we met at a meeting.
This is what happened. His friend that we aren't friends with anymore. This is why it all kind of comes together, you know, is his friend went to that meeting. My regular Friday night at Laguna Beach. Him and people from LA, they live in LA. He lives in LA. Damon does. They drove to support him into that meeting so then he can get to know people. So they were there as his support group.
Mm-hmm.
They sat behind me. They walked in, snatched Botox, whatever filler, and I'm like, these bitches are from LA. They're annoying. I already know they're annoying.
Yeah.
So they sat behind me. I was just trying to be in my
Also
meeting.
snatched, also Botoxed as fuck, so let's not get it twisted.
And so I was like,
Filler?
I don't want to talk to any of these hoes.
Yeah.
And then he started sharing.
Jealous.
The guy started sharing, saying, I'm a celebrity hairdresser. And I'm like, oh my God, everyone says that. And then the guy next to me is my friend, kind of like, used to be my sponsor. And he's like, you know, kind of like after the meeting, go, because I do hair, I work, you know, at that time with only a few celebrities, not a lot, but like we had a similar story is what I'm trying to say. And I was like, oh my God, it's so annoying. I have to go say hi. And so then because someone told me to,
Wow.
you know, went to go say hi. I'm like, hey, I'm Jimmy. I do hair too. You know, I live around in the area. Let's hang out, you know. And they're like, oh my God, yeah, that's good because, you know, we live in LA, you know, all this stuff that I already knew. And then that's how we started hanging out, me and this friend, which is his best friend at that time. And so that's how we started slowly hanging out, is I would hang out with his friend, and then we would invite him, and he would come and like go to the movies with us and stuff like that.
And we all became friends, and we were friends for a year. Like nothing it
happened.
was a good friendship.
We told he knew I was a slut.
No, we
slut.
were friends. Like it was not
He told
ever
me
anything
he
until like the last few weeks of my old relationship. There was nothing between Jimmy and I.
Yeah.
I mean, when I still didn't know if there was going to be anything between us. I knew that I liked him and I knew I loved him as a friend. But you know, being here in the program, like going to that meeting that we were going to, like that is all what made it work.
Yeah.
And relationships are not easy. They are like the hardest thing in sobriety.
It's the hardest thing.
Oh, absolutely. So that's my question, is like the fact that both of you are dealing with your own demons and addictions. Do you feel like that helps? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? Do you wish you would have ended up with a normie?
I know, right? I think...
First of all, I hate that term. I don't think anyone is fucking normal.
Amen.
But for lack of a better term, we'll use it.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm sorry, I don't.
Because everyone has their own addiction in some form.
Exactly, and everybody's got their own fucking baggage to deal with. So I don't think anyone's normal, and I think I am normal. So I don't like I don't like to use that normie term. But I think that I don't think it matters. I think that you can be with someone who does, you know, but
two people that do work.
Exactly. If the two people are working on themselves, no matter what avenue it is, program, therapy, you have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because people always ask me, what made you say yes when Jimmy proposed? And I say, because I knew that Jimmy and I could get through anything together. Jimmy does work on himself. I do work on myself. We do work together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and life is going to show up. Life is going to be life, and it is going to throw shit at you. It is not all going to be.
Sometimes you want to have sex. Sometimes you can't get it up. You know what I mean? One night he wants to have sex. One night I don't.
What he's exhausted. I'm exhausted.
Right
the
now
next
I'm
night.
stressful and I can't get hard. Like there's things, and I'm like, babe, and he goes, I know, I understand. But we talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna happen.
That's the main thing. We have learned to communicate in this program.
Yeah.
So for your question, it doesn't matter in AA or not. You really need to be in a relationship with someone that's willing to work together. They have their own working they're doing. I have my own working. And it's not always going to be like that, but that's the best thing is when both of you are doing separate work and then work together.
Yeah.
And you're always like this, you know, like in vacations when we're on the beach in freaking Puerto Vallarta and people are like G'd and methed out, and I feel uncomfortable, and I say, babe, I'm uncomfortable, let's go. He just says, okay, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
He's not like, you're crazy, why you want to leave. Like, situations like that is where you really want to be in a relationship, is that you know when the other person is feeling something. You just don't, there's no questions asked, basically, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And we're both 100%, like, we're both 100% in this program. We're both 100% in this relationship.
Do you guys call each other out on your, like, if
Oh my
someone's
God.
not working on themselves, or like you're
Damon does more than me.
I don't think we do.
You say you need a meeting.
Well, like, you'll call me and be like, babe, da da da, and I'm like, babe, we both need a meeting. Like, I don't ever like, oh, you need this, or like, I stay out of Jimmy's program, but
That's
like,
true.
I will remind
right.
him, like, babe, when was the last time I do it in a nice way, like, babe, when was the last time we went to a meeting? Like, I trust me, because I know I'm feeling the same way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You
He
know,
does
our
do that.
lives have gotten big because of this program, and like, you know, it's like, I'm like, trust me, I could use a meeting.
Mhm.
So I know you're feeling the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And we have our Friday night meeting, which is where I could say, oh, and FYI, Jimmy did this bullshit this week, and everybody will tell him he's a fucking idiot. And vice versa.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But Damon's a golden child.
You're so stupid. I am not.
He doesn't do anything wrong.
Trust me, I'm not perfect. I still do things wrong all the time, and that's life. Like, we're still human.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's progress, not perfection. We're gonna make mistakes, and you know, it's how you handle them.
Yeah. We listen and we don't judge.
And that's the babe.
We listen and we
don't
love them.
judge. We love those. Oh my God, that family. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
That's where that's from. Is that family from Australia? They're like, we listen and we don't judge.
The little girls are so
and the little
cute.
girls are like, I stole your bracelet last week. And the girl goes, and the dad goes, we listen, we don't judge. And then the other girl goes, I farted in the covers, and when you were sleeping, put the covers over your face. And then they get so pissed, but they're like, we listen and we don't judge. And it gets worse and worse. And then
God.
at the end, they're just kind of fight each other. It was funny.
That's
That's
hysterical.
cute. I haven't seen. I just saw the
Forgot
trend.
the name.
I love the trend though, because that's so. I feel like that's like sponsorship.
No,
Like,
it is.
Yeah.
We listen, we don't judge.
Yeah.
Except I'll call Breezy or Damon and judge with them. Just kidding.
I don't think you do.
I don't do that.
No. All right. Well, that's all my questions.
You have any questions
I've
for
learned
me?
so much.
Have you really?
Yeah. No, really. I really did.
Well, I had fun. I want to come back.
Come back with
What?
come back again.
With better stories. I know you guys wanted like
No.
the most embarrassing, funny shit. I can't think of that.
No, we didn't want that.
Like
No,
when I
I
shit
love
on myself
this.
at Taco Bell. You wanted to hear that story?
Yes,
What?
that was in your first year.
That was not in my first year. That was in my first sobriety. No, I wasn't even sobriety. That was in my addiction. I had, oh my gosh. Okay, so you take pills, you get stopped up, but the minute you start to detox, everything wants to exit your body.
I thought it was
Oh,
the
yeah.
Chinese food place in LA.
No, that was years ago. That's a funny story too, though. But I barely like I went like so I what's so funny is I had just gotten some more pills and I had taken them, but I had already like started to go into a detox of the pills that I had taken. Bless you. The pills that I had taken hadn't done their deal yet.
Oh no.
And I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom. Like I probably had a week's worth in me. And I got the key from the person at the front and I made it to the door. And as soon as I was opening the door, I just felt it all going down the back of my leg.
Oh no.
Well, thank you for coming on.
I also have lots of poop stories that I
Right?
love to
I mean,
share.
I think it's just like
when
it's
you're
a given.
taking poison,
Yeah.
like of course you're going to
Your
shit
body's
yourself
gonna-
Yeah.
or do horrible things. Yeah,
Yeah.
your bowel movements are just so messed up in addiction. Anyways.
And on that note, thank you so
yeah,
much.
thank you so much. You did amazing. This is Sober Disclosure.
Disclosure.
Thanks so much for listening. We love
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
This episode is brought to you by Light Salon, Orange County's premier destination for expert hair color. At Light Salon, we specialize in creating stunning custom color transformations that highlight your natural beauty. Owned and operated by passionate sober stylist. We bring authenticity, creativity, and precision to every client experience. Light Salon.